After about 2 years, Apple has finally updated the chips on their iMacs, going from the Apple M1 chip to the new M3 chip. And I'm going to go over what's actually new and why I think you probably shouldn't get this computer and what you should get instead. The design of this iMac has remained relatively the same. It still has the 24-inch display, it still has the 4K display, it still has the same color options, the ports on the back are pretty much the same. And something that I kind of found pretty interesting about the new M3 iMac is it's 0.08 pounds lighter, which might be an improvement. Otherwise, like the design of this has remained kind of relatively the same. But where the difference really lies with this computer hasn't have to do with the design, but actually the performance. So I'm looking at the Geekbench scores here, and the M3 iMac got an 11,704 multi-core score and a 41,016 metal GPU score, whereas the M1 iMac got 8,328 multi-core score and 31,800 metal GPU score. It does kind of sound like, oh wow, the M3 iMac is a huge improvement performance-wise compared to the M1. And it is. It's, pretty big improvement. But the M1 iMac is still really good enough for probably how most people use an iMac. And when I think about the average iMac user, I kind of think of them like doing it for office work and stuff, sitting in their room, or they have like sitting in their family's house and they let their kids play Minecraft and stuff on it. But I don't really see an iMac being used for somebody who likes to do professional work, like, editing a ton of music and editing videos and stuff. And if you are that type of person, buying an iMac, may consider getting a nice MacBook Pro or consider getting an M3 iMac possibly. It's just you're going to be spending a lot of money trying to spec that thing out. Now, one thing I don't see that's really talked a lot about these new Apple M3 chips compared to the M1 chips is likely if the M3 chip, you are going to get an extra year or two of support in terms of software and stuff. And if you're holding on to this for like the long run, let's say 8+ years, it's definitely worth getting an M3 iMac. But if you're like the type of person who, typically holds on to a computer for like 5 years or so, the M1 iMac is still a really good option, and you save $300 by doing so. There's also some minor improvements too that are made, like Wi-Fi. So instead of Wi-Fi 6, this has Wi-Fi 6E. And instead of Bluetooth 5, it has Bluetooth 5.3. Again, minor differences, but kind of be unfair if I didn't mention them in this video. Another minor difference too is the headphone jack on the side of the computer now supports high impedance headphones, whereas the M1 iMac didn't. And that's literally basically the only differences of the M3 iMac compared to like the M1 iMac. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love this computer. The design has really held up well. It stands out compared to a lot of other desktops. But I just think there's better options out there for the average consumer to consider instead of dropping $1,300+ on a computer that you can't even adjust the height of the stand. You can't even, take it with you. I just feel like there's better options out there for how the average consumer is going to use this computer. Now, if you're somebody who like got to have that new iMac because you love the design, you want something that looks really good in your room and stuff, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you. It's absolutely amazing. I'd recommend looking for something off of Facebook Marketplace. So you can find like used M1 iMacs for under $1,000 now. I typically see them, listed for sale around $800. You can also find these too, like on websites and stuff, refurbished websites for around $1,000. Another option to consider too is to buy a older 2017 or 2019 iMac, and you can typically find these on refurb sites or on the used market for around $500 or less. And there's still like an amazing computer. It still has like a really nice display. It still has actually an even better port selection than the M3 iMacs. It's just the only problem with those is the design does kind of feel a little dated, and if software support is really important to you, it's kind of been on the verge of being cut off there, especially with the Mac OS updates. But things like Photoshop and stuff like that are still going to be supported for a few more years. So those computers are definitely still something to consider if you just need something that's like a family browser computer. And then the final option to consider, and this is probably like my favorite option, is to go find a used M1 MacBook Air out there for around $700 and then spend a few $100s to get a 4K display. Now, obviously, it's not as beautiful as one of those newer iMacs. However, I think this is the most practical for people because when you think about the future of work now, a lot of times we're doing stuff mobilely and remotely. And if you can take your computer with you when you need to go on the go or you're going on a vacation, that's very handy. And I kind of had a setup like that where I use my MacBook as like my computer part and my monitor as a display. And I can literally go out, do my classes and stuff, have my laptop that's portable with me. And at the end of the day, when I want to do work and have a nice monitor, I can just go plug it in here and it makes life a whole lot easier for me. And then this monitor too also has a height adjustable stand. On the iMacs, none of them are height adjustable. You have to get like books or like a little riser in order to make that stuff height adjustable. And that's something that I feel like would be a pretty big pain if I was to go and use the iMac as my main desktop computer. Now, I still think the M3 iMac is an absolutely amazing computer. It's just you really need to think about if that power they're getting out of it is really worth it. And you also have to think about the depreciation value too and how well it's going to last you throughout the years. But anyways, I'll leave links in the description if you do want to shop for one of those used computers. And I also have another video too to check out if you are buying it like on the used market, through Facebook Marketplace and stuff. I have a guide where you can find everything you need to test, and it can probably save you a lot of hassle following that. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.